Roll call, Trustee Ramirez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Here.
Trustee Trujillo. And Trustee Phillips.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all are coming forward except Trustee Trujillo. Judge, please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you now, Father God. Thanking you for the people that are in this community that are concerned, Father God, that have come to this meeting, Father God, to hear what we are doing and for this community and only for this community, Heavenly Father. I ask that you would bestow a blessing upon our council, Father God, that we make the decisions, Father God, not for our own doings, but for the community, Father God, as our concerns here are for this community, solely for this community, Heavenly Father. And I ask that you just bless us tonight, Father God. We ask you and we thank you for everything that you have done for us, Father God. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. I will approve agenda with or without additions, deletions, or corrections.
I'm asking if we can move item number 11 right below item number 7 before council comments, and also we need to move item 20 to above item 17.
20 to 17. So we're going to lengthen this. They're going to make us all go through the closed session.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the addition.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Okay, discuss, approve, disapprove minutes of regular meeting of September 19, 2017.
On item number 7, I'm going to go 5 lines down, starting with Trustee Phillips. Says Mr. Cruz continues, his needs to be changed to an, reads his letter to the board. On page 2, same section. We can go 7 lines down, starting with no. Prerogative needs to be spelled P-E-R-O-G-A-T-I-V-E. Prerogative. On page 8, item 26. Second line down, starting with uphold the ethics. Out needs to be replaced with our. And on page 9, item 29, it is the 9th sentence down from the top, starting with became an issue. All the way across, it says, I just want that to be noted for the record that we all needs to be striked. That the whole council, so it says that, we all, strike, we all, and it should just be that the whole council meets, whoever meets. Those are all my comments.
Anything else that anybody has to add to that?
On mine, on page 4, right where it says Mayor Pro Tem Lopez states correct, right above where it says Trustee Ramirez. What that was in reference to was that we, could not, pledge the money because I was unaware of what the costs were gonna be that we kept incurring, with changing to another auditing firm because we had not budgeted for an $11,000 increase. And so, with the bills that kept coming in, I just, that was what, when they asked me if that was correct, that's what I was referring to, is that we had to apply for an extension because we didn't know if we would have the money to pledge for the match for the street project. So I'll move to approve the minutes as corrected.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Okay. Approve with corrections. Public input, we have a sign in.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to request that Kevin Sourisseau be allowed to speak first since he has to travel back to San Jose.
Kevin Sourisseau, Office of the State Auditor. Okay. With our request being made by Trustee Phillips, we'll ask, Kevin Sourisseau, Office of the State Auditor.
Mr. Mayor, trustees, I am here today from the State Auditor's Office to ensure that everyone here is aware of a letter that we sent to the city earlier today upon hearing about the proposed action based on some audit findings. I'd like to just, I know my 3 minutes will go by fast if I try to read the whole letter, but I'd like to read just a couple of excerpts from perhaps the first paragraph. The purported justification cited by certain residents in requesting Trustee Phillips' removal relates to 2 Town of Springer audit findings for fiscal year 16. The OSA, our office that I represent, is deeply troubled by this gross misrepresentation of the purpose, facts, and nature of these audit findings. This seems to be a highly misguided effort, and I'm writing to provide information that may be useful as this matter is discussed. So this 2-page letter, or page-and-a-half letter, was sent today from our Deputy State Auditor to the trustees to kind of explain the purpose of the audit and the findings that are in the audit. First of all, the audit findings are issued by your independent accounting firm based on the auditor's professional judgment. They have to be based on sufficient evidence. We are currently requesting information from Pam Rice, your auditor, to, I think she has a deadline of October 31st, to provide information to us so that we can see that the findings in this audit report are supported by work in her work papers. We're waiting to hear from her on that. Secondly, because of independence issues, we have not allowed Pam Rice to return as your auditor this year. We had some concerns regarding independence. And back to the point on the findings, even if the findings are supported by adequate evidence in her file, under no circumstances would they rise to the level of misconduct or malfeasance which would justify removal of an elected official. New Mexico statutes annotated 10.4.2 discuss removal of local officers, and 3.10.7 discusses removal for malfeasance. So the Secretary of Department of Administration may also suspend officials in cases where the findings show fraudulent misrepresentation or embezzlement. So the letter goes on to talk specifically about the findings. I can leave this and you all can make copies of it. You can also get them, I'm sure, from the city. But the bottom line here is that there are a couple of audit findings that have been written into this audit report, and whether they are supported or not will be determined by our office. But even so, they're troubling at best for our office. There seems to be, we've had a couple of referrals to your IPA to look at issues over the years. There are, and you have copies, there are about 19 audit findings in your audit that are much more serious than these 2 audit findings that have been recently written regarding fiscal year 16. Those 2 audit findings.
And I just have one question for you. I don't know. I did talk to Sanjay myself today, and he said that Trustee Phillips had given him the information that she had not been invited to the exit conference. So I did go ahead and print out the email where it does show her email was included on June 13th at 3:50 p.m. on a Tuesday, stating that we would have our exit audit interview on Monday, June 19th, and she still didn't show. Second of all,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you offer her an opportunity to respond to those audit findings?
Excuse me, I would like to say that, yes, they did. I think he misunderstood me. I told him I did not attend.
Right, but my question, whether she was in attendance or not, did the city have an opportunity to respond to audit findings?
That night was our option to respond to the
Okay.
finding. Second of all, where did, he said that she's the one that gave you the list of the trustees and the individuals on the council. First of all, Rebecca Ramirez is not the mayor pro tem. Second of all, Jean Martinez is no longer a town trustee and has not been for over 2 years.
You know, I can't speak to that. We have an administrative person in our office that does this type of research.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna talk about facts, let's talk about facts.
Well, your website is incorrect. When I went to your website, it doesn't show.
But they called our office yesterday and specifically requested from us.
You know, I'm not here to argue I'm not here to argue. My point on, you brought up the response to the audit. Audits, you have an exit conference, typically a management representation letter is signed, and we allow individuals, when we're performing audits, our judgment, we allow individuals 5 days to provide responses to us. Attendance at that meeting is not mandatory, nor does non-attendance at that meeting preclude someone from providing a response, from management from providing a response. There seems to be quite a mess of he said, she said going on down here. And
tell us about it.
It happens throughout our, and I know I'm going beyond my 3 minutes. It goes on throughout our society and throughout our government. We have cases where we have trustees not getting cooperation from managers or from clerks. The fact that Anna Phillips, trustee, had to submit an IPA request to get information that's relevant to her position as a trustee, honestly, it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, and I'm gonna speak on that.
Okay.
Everything was brought into this office. She was invited to come in here and look at anything she wanted. She never did. The record stayed in here for over a month, if I'm correct. Everything stayed in here for her viewing. As she requested, everything was brought in here, which she never came. So at that point, when she never came, at that point is when she asked for the IPA request.
No, I sent the for a request first.
Well,
But
everything was in here.
information to review the records. And yes, sir, to answer your question, in my opinion, we have all had the opportunity to do a review and do a response to anything that we found, needing to be addressed in the audit. It is up to us to take that responsibility and not behind excuses.
And it's our sole responsibility as trustees to do due diligence to the community members that we represent. And if there was a concern with one of the audit findings, that one of the trustees was concerned that it was in relation to her, then she should have taken it upon herself to write the response within the 5 days if she could not attend the meeting.
And give notice would be nice too.
Mr. Mayor, trustees, regardless of those findings and whether she had a chance to respond, if she didn't know that those findings were there, she's not going to be able to respond. But the point here, and you make a very good point, it is your responsibility. The finances of this organization, this entity, this government, are your responsibility as trustees.
Exactly.
And if you have a trustee that's raising questions and asking questions, I would applaud that. I would applaud someone that has the wherewithal and the diligence to dig and ask and question things. And if you're questioning things and you're not getting an answer, are you going to be happy with that? Are you going to go away? Or are you going to keep pushing? Are you going to persevere until you get the answers that you want?
Are we going to harass them until they leave? Is that what you're asking us?
I'm asking
Because
if you
that
get
is
an
what you're
answer.
asking.
No,
We have gotten to a situation where things could have been handled much better, but we're based on personal decisions and actions of Trustee Phillips. So if she decides that those were her actions, then we can't do anything about it, but this is where we're at. And right now, this whole entire topic it's divided our entire community. And due diligence has been done. If we don't want to take it and we just want to complain later, then that's where we're at right now.
And on that note, I've also have not seen Trustee Phillips help us one time resolve one single finding in the audit that we have been working on to resolve all 20 of these findings all along. And second of all, we have invited different times for her to come. She doesn't respond to emails, she doesn't respond to phone calls. So how are we supposed to communicate with a trustee that has done nothing to write one grant, to solve one problem?
That's not my job.
And so,
It's not my job.
thank you for your time.
Mr. Trustee Ramirez, you are entirely right. I have a personal belief that this is probably blown way out of proportion, that it has been mishandled. But the bottom line,
Two Facebook pages later with one trustee slandering all the other trustees, I don't think that's very professional conduct. When we're supposed to be the leaders of this community and the pillars of this community and be role models for the community of what should and shouldn't be done. And I don't condone the behavior one bit. And I don't condone the lying either.
I've not been on Facebook over a month.
You are an administrator, you have admitted to being an administrator, and that Facebook page, anything any administrator does is tied to every administrator who has access to that username and password.
And we have screenshots where she totally admitted that she is one of the administrators of the page that
Yes,
has
I
caused
did.
this stuff.
Yes, I did.
And some of the things that we've had to do with, sir, I'm sorry that you have to be in the middle of this, but some of the things we've had has gone from slander, homophobic slurs, all the way to having somebody so miserable in their skin coming to work based on things that are being done to them here personally, that they leave, and now their character is being judged because they ran. But who in their right mind would stay in a work environment where they are hostile, it is not happy for them, and they're continually being questioned whether or not they know what they're doing?
You know what, you proved that, because I do not come down here to this office, I have not been in the back office.
Yeah, you don't participate in nothing actually.
No.
She's
I
not
don't care.
informed about a lot of it.
Thank you.
She's not informed about a lot of it, they don't tell her nothing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I asked the auditor's office a question. My name is Danny Cruz and I'm the former mayor from Springer. And they're saying the audit findings against Trustee Phillips, that she wasted and abused over $14,000 of taxpayer money, is just troubling. And it doesn't rise to the level of malfeasance or anything else. Now, and let me finish. When the state auditor signed off on the independent auditor's report, is that when it's determined that it's a final audit? Yes or no?
it is final when it's released from our office, but
And it's been released, correct?
Yes, our office reviews, if you'll let me speak, our office reviews in excess of 900 reports a year. We don't look at every single work paper for every single audit to make sure that every single audit finding is supported by evidence in the work papers. We do work paper reviews. We do about 35 entity work paper reviews of those 900. So we may pick this CPA and this entity, or this CPA and this entity. We look to make sure that their work papers are complete. In this case, we're stepping that up a little bit. We're asking to look at support for those two particular findings. But the fact that we've released it doesn't mean that we've blessed it. What we're looking for when we review that audit is we're looking to make sure that the financial statements are prepared and look correct, like the proper elements are there, that they're following the generally accepted accounting principles and presentation of the financials. I saw those findings and I thought, wow, that's pretty bold for an IPA to say that and put her license on the line to try to say something like that. But we don't make IPAs change findings. If we are aware of something that probably should be a finding and we have some good evidence of that, we will send a referral, we will ask the IPA to look at it, and we will expect to see a finding. But it is the IPA's judgment. It is their liability, it's their license. They write those findings and they have to be able to support them. We don't,
So when the state auditor signs off on that audit, he's not saying that he agrees with that IPA finding?
no, because
He's
we
just
have,
saying, here, go ahead.
Yeah.
when we sign, statutorily, we have to review the audits. We can't agree with all of them. There's 1,000, we have 35 staff, and there's 1,000 audits that come in within 6 weeks. We can't look at every single, you've got 19 findings here, we've got some entities 10, 12, 15, 8, some don't have any findings. We still have to read through those. We have to read through the management discussion and analysis, we have to read through the notes, we have to look through the financials. We tax our staff. We have people busting it to get all of those reports reviewed. There is a review guide that actually is attached to this. This is the review guide that we have to go through for every single audit that comes in and we sign off. Nowhere in this review guide does it say, oh, we agree with these findings. We can't possibly agree. That's why we contract these audits out. We have a peer review process that reviews these IPAs. It reviews any disciplinary action that may have come before or come to us as a result of their work as a CPA. We look at their workload. We look at the products that they produce and the quality of their product. And we do a peer review. We may actually have situations where we restrict an independent public accounting firm, but there's no way, we're not blessing this audit in
How
any
did
way.
you come to a point where you wrote that letter to the town of Spring? How did that come about?
How did this come about?
Did the trustees or the mayor approach you, or one trustee?
No, we were contacted by Trustee Phillips to
Did
say,
you speak to any of the other trustees?
No.
No, they got one side of the story.
That's my point.
well, but
Now, is that a legal opinion from the state auditor's office, or is it a professional, position paper?
it's written from the professional, it's written by Sanjay Bhakta, who is our deputy state auditor. He is a CPA. It is his professional,
Is it a legal opinion?
it's not a legal opinion.
Does the state auditor issue
Nor
legal
is this finding a legal opinion or a legal basis to take any action against anyone.
Which I find troubling because everything you've just said makes me question the whole legality
Why have the state auditor's
of the
office
entire
there?
system.
So,
Because you're just telling me that we look at papers, we sign off, go ahead, 'cause we're just gonna.
So why did we
discuss it.
pay $8,000 for this? Because
Because-
it means nothing.
by law, you have
just said
to,
it.
by law,
It
you
doesn't
have to
mean
have a
nothing.
financial audit.
Of course.
A financial audit,
Which we
It's just
have.
signed
okay,
off.
a
and
financial
no
audit
information.
of your financial statements. The purpose of the financial audit, it's twofold in New Mexico. The main purpose is for the auditor to be able to provide an opinion on your financial statements. Are they fairly stated? Have you overstated revenue? Have you understated payables? Are you missing a whole bunch of assets? Do you not have all of your assets on the books? The auditors are doing test work so they can say, you know what? Your financials are fairly stable. What this says is what we believe to be true. They do that on a test basis. They may miss things. A financial audit is not designed to find fraud. Sometimes it may, but the reality, fraud is found by tips. Fraud is found by people being tenacious and asking questions. It's not found by your financial auditors.
I have a question on the issue of it being an independent audit, since there was a lot of paperwork withheld from myself that was going back and forth between the state auditor's office and the town of Springer, and it was about the collusion of Sean Jeffrey and Pam Rice.
So,
Which wasn't an issue, our current audit, it wasn't only until the questions were being brought up that it became an issue for Pam Rice and Associates to be removed from our audit.
So, independent public accountant, and let me finish with the other purpose of the audit. In New Mexico, we require the auditors to look at to basically do some compliance test work. Are you complying with the laws that the state has? Are you complying with federal laws? Are you reporting, to DFA as you need to budget for your budget? Are you complying with the Mileage and Per Diem Act? Are you complying with, various other procurement code? If you're not a home ruler, are you complying with procurement code? That also is taken into account by the auditor doing your audit. To answer your question, I believe you paid Pam Rice $36,000.
And now we have another bill for $7,000 that she's taking us to court over.
Well,
because Trustee Phillips in the June meeting made the motion to approve to pay her the difference. And Trustee Ramirez seconded it, and I abstained.
that's another matter that we have already dealt with to some extent with Pam Rice. But
That went above and beyond the contract, and they were privy to information that the rest of us did not have.
the
Because she
contract,
doesn't stay at the meeting.
your contract between your IPA, just so everyone knows, so you don't make this mistake in the future, your contract with your IPA is your binding contract.
We haven't paid them. We didn't make a mistake yet. We have not paid them.
Your IPA cannot do additional work without getting approval for a contract amendment through our office. That original contract goes through the state auditor's office, it's approved and signed off on, and any changes to that have to come through our office. We sent a referral letter to Pam Rice. We sent 48 referral letters this year. We sent about 80 last year to various IPAs throughout the state saying, we've got some concerns, we'd like you to look at this and this. Those referral letters, rarely, in maybe 1% of the cases, they result in a contract amendment. An amendment for a few more hours and maybe a few more dollars. Pam Rice, for whatever reason,
Your referral letter racked up 7 additional days, but
our referral letter clearly said, if there's gonna be a change in scope and you need to modify the contract, by our regulations, you need to contact us. And she did not. Much like the request, the IPRA request, said if it's gonna cost more than $25, please contact me. That didn't happen in either case.
That's the only email you got.
Yeah, because there's a whole chain of
There's a whole
emails
chain of
that
emails
get
behind it.
information.
But you're only getting one part of the story. And this is why you're here, because you're getting one part of one story without questioning or calling me not one time that she was contacting me. Did I ever, as the mayor of this community, ever get a phone call from the state auditor's office? In any form of question? Mayor Garcia, is this, do you have any follow documents? No, you're taking one story and now you're standing.
No. We asked the IPA, who's an independent public accountant, to look at these issues. And in the course of looking at that, we came to realize that she may not be independent.
We're not talking
And
about
her response to our
Rice
office,
right now. Why are you here?
I'm here to make sure you know that we sent this letter.
Yeah, I got it today.
And to make sure that you don't misconstrue or misuse the audit findings. Because if you try to take legal action based
So who
on an audit
contacted you to
finding,
be here?
no one asked us to be here.
Really? That you just came on your own free will?
No, let's be clear. She didn't ask me to come. She didn't ask anyone from the auditor's office to come. She contacted us and said, there's a problem, look at this agenda item. And we wanted to make sure that you realize that those audit findings and that agenda item don't really go together very well. And I want you all to understand what an audit finding is. It's not a legal finding. The reason you have an audit is because you have to. You have to have financial statements and they have to be fairly stated. That's why you have an audit. The audit is not to fire people. The audit is not to, find fraud.
But it is to show how we are managing our people's funds. And when our people's funds are being misappropriated in areas they shouldn't have, then yes, we are responsible for that.
Right.
And an audit finding, I'm sorry, you already said it, we're just legally bound by it.
As a trustee, it's your responsibility to make sure that this is a public meeting. It's your responsibility to make sure that funds are expended appropriately. You are right. It's your responsibility to make sure that minutes are published when they're supposed to be published. It's the trustee's responsibility. It's not the treasurer, secretary, clerk, it's not the people's, it's the trustee's responsibility. If a trustee has a question or a problem with that, bringing attention to it, drawing light to it, shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't rise to this big of an issue.
That's the main issue right there. Instead of coming to the office, addressing, requesting, asking for documents or whatever, it's never come to the office, it goes straight to your office.
It's done no good.
Because you never tried, Trustee Phillips. No, you have not. No, you have
Mayor,
not.
can I make a recommendation?
Yes, sir.
As a former mayor, what I would do, what I would recommend, is that you and the council write the state auditor and request an in-person meeting with him to resolve this issue. Because it appears to me, and I don't know because I wasn't in the meeting with Trustee Phillips and him, but it appears to me that somebody got to him and as a result he wrote a letter. That's what I see. And now I'm hearing that a state audit doesn't mean anything. So I would recommend that you talk to the state auditor itself.
I'm not saying a state audit doesn't mean anything. I'm saying to take legal action.
Okay, so time's up.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mary McCarty?
Well, I didn't come here to talk about any of these issues. My friend here, they asked her $800 or $900 for a meter, okay? And she wanted to know if there was a way of maybe paying. She doesn't have the $800 or $900. Is there a way after they put the meter in that she can make little payments as as she pays her bill every month? That's it. Could you stand up, Karma? This is the lady that we're talking about.
I'm Karma, and I am renting own a little house here, and so the meter is about $800, and I don't have that much. I was wondering if I could make payments, and I don't even have my electricity ready yet to go, but if I could start making some payments first, and then, once I'm ready, then maybe I could come up with the rest of the money to get the meter on and stuff. And by the way, this community has a lot of potential, I mean, this is really nice.
And on that note, ma'am, Help New Mexico does have some resources available to help with electrical. I will get the information for you if Ms. McCarty before we leave.
Okay, thank you.
But she was asking about if she can start making payments. I'm sorry, ma'am. Were you asking about establishing payments until you're able to hook up?
Yes,
Till you come up with the full amount?
yeah. Like I could make because I'm not even ready to hook up yet, but I need to start somewhere so that I can, when I am ready for the electric, I can
Why
be able to.
don't you come to City Hall tomorrow and they can set you up on a payment plan, whatever will work for you,
Okay, great.
monthly, weekly, whatever.
And I just wanted to just also remind you that the meter needs to be on your property according to our new statute.
Okay, great. All right, thank
Good
you.
luck, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll take you. Karma,
That's me.
That was me? Okay. Joy Matlock?
First off, I wanted to address the emergency operations plan. I was here about 60 days ago, and we were discussing the siren and notification and bad weather. And I never heard a response back from any one of you as to how that was going to be handled. I know that Mr. Criswell is no longer here, but when someone requests a deadline on a operational plan, it's predicated on information being provided for that plan. And so we're currently stalled